Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great joy to welcome you this evening to St Mary's Andover for the Harmonium Singers' Christmas 50th anniversary concert. My name is Chris Bradish and I'm the vicar of this church. A warm welcome to you wherever you may be joining us from. You might be in Andover or you might be much further afield. You are most welcome. It's undoubtedly a huge shame that we felt it necessary to make this an online-only concert this evening, but under the direction of Andrew Wyndham, I know the choir have prepared such a treat for us this evening. And a huge thank you to everybody involved who has worked very hard at short notice to enable this broadcast to happen. This is a 50th anniversary concert, so happy birthday to the Harmonium Singers, a long-standing choir in the life of Andover Town, which has been lots of fun for so many years. I know the choir have some exciting plans for 2022, not least a relaunch with a change of name to the Andover Chamber Choir. Please do look out for further news in the new year, and especially I know new members are always welcome. If you had bought a ticket to this evening's concert and you wish to receive a refund, please do be in touch with the choir directly, but it's very much hoped that won't be necessary, as all the proceeds from the ticket sales are to be donated to the Andover Crisis and Support Centre, which is a very worthy cause indeed. It simply really remains for me to say, enjoy. I hope that you have got a glass of mulled wine close by and a mince pie, perhaps something else to drink as well. You might be joining us from the comfort of your sofa with family and friends. You are in for a real treat and you are most welcome. The concert will run all the way through, so that's enough from me, and I wish you a very enjoyable evening. Thank you.
Amen. Before the paling of the stars, before the winter morn, before the earliest cock crow, Jesus Christ was born. Born in a stable, cradled in a manger, in the world his hands had made, born a stranger. Priest and king lay fast asleep in Jerusalem. Young and old lay fast asleep in crowded Bethlehem. Saint and angel, ox and ass, kept a watch together before the Christmas daybreak in the winter weather. Jesus on his mother's breast in the stable cold, spotless Lamb of God was he, shepherd of the fold. Let us kneel with Mary Maid, with Joseph bent and hoary, with saint and angel, ox and ass, to hail the King of glory.
I'm a shepherd. Woman, you'll never credit what my 2 eyes saw this night. But first of all, we'll have a drop. It's freezing all right. It were the queerest going on that I did e'er behold. A holy child out in the barn, a baby all in gold. Now let's get started on the soup, and let me tell it you, for though there's not a thing made up, it still seems hardly true. There he was, laid upon the straw. Will you dish up the stew? The ass did bray, the hens did craw. I'll have some cabbage too. First, there was a king from Prussia, at least that's how he looked. Then there was the king of Russia. This stew's been overcooked. There they were, kneeling on the ground. Come, have a bite to eat. First I just stared and stood around. Have just a taste of meat. Well, one of them, he ups and says a long speech, kind of funny. Hey, here, what about that last new cheese? This is still runny. The little one, wise as wise can be, just didn't care for that. But he was pleased as punch with me when I took off me hat. I took his little fists in mine, in front of all those knobs. Fetch us a jug of our best wine, my dear. We'll wet our gobs. That very instant, as if I'd had a good swig of drink, I felt a great warm joy inside. But why, I cannot think. Ah, this wine's the stuff, by Jove. When he's grown up a bit, that little fella, just you see, he shall have some of it. We might have all been knelt there yet. Put a Yule log on the fire. But suddenly he starts to fret. He's begun to tire. Then, sirs, his mother, she did say, it grieves me to remind you that it's time to go away when you have been so kind. But see how sleepy he's become. He's crying. Let him rest. You all know how to find our home. Each one's a welcome guest. And so in silence we went out. But the funniest thing, those 3 fine kings did wish me good morning. You see, love, that's how it began. The God born on this earth. This night's no ordinary one. Let's celebrate his birth.
Peace and silver. Like cloth of gold glisten our sleek pelts. Of all camels, we alone carry the kings.
Do you wonder that we are proud, that our hooded eyes are contemptuous?
As we sail past the tented villages, they beat their copper gongs after us. The windswift, the desert racers, see them.
Faster than gazelles!
Faster than hounds!
The camels with the king's camels!
The sand drifts in puffs behind us, the glinting quartz, the fine hard grit. Do you wonder that we look down our noses? Do you wonder we flare our superior nostrils?
All night we have run under the moon, without effort breathing lightly, smooth as a breeze over the desert floor, one white star our compass.
We have come to no palace, no place, towers and minarets, and the calling of servants, but a poor stable in a poor town.
So why are we bending our crested necks? Why are our proud heads bowed and our eyes closed neatly?
Why are we outside this hovel, humbly and awkwardly kneeling?
How is it that we know the world is changed?
Come, three kings together.
Such a bustle ensued that you might have thought a goose the rarest of all birds, a feathered phenomenon to which a black swan was a matter of course, and in truth it was something very like it in that house. Mrs. Cratchit made the gravy, ready beforehand in a little saucepan, hissing hot. Master Peter mashed the potatoes with incredible vigour. Miss Belinda sweetened up the applesauce. Martha dusted the hot plates. Bob took Tiny Tim beside him in a tiny corner at the table. The two young Cratchits set chairs for everybody, not forgetting themselves, and mounting guard upon their post, crammed spoons into their mouths, lest they should shriek for goose before their turn came to be helped. At last the dishes were set on, and grace was said. It was succeeded by a breathless pause, as Mrs. Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it in the breast. But when she did, and when the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth, one murmur of delight arose all round the board, and even Tiny Tim, excited by the two young Cratchits, beat on the table with the handle of his knife, and feebly cried, "Hurrah!" There never was such a goose. Bob said he didn't believe there ever was such a goose cooked. Its tenderness and flavour, size and cheapness were the themes of universal admiration. Eked out by applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was a sufficient dinner for the whole family. Indeed, as Mrs. Cratchit said with great delight, surveying one small atom of bone upon the dish, they hadn't ate it all particular, were steeped in sage and onion to the eyebrows. But now, the plates being changed by Miss Belinda, Mrs. Cratchit left the room alone, too nervous to bear witness, to take the pudding up and bring it in. Suppose it should not be done enough. Suppose it should break in turning out. Suppose somebody should have got over the wall of the backyard and stolen it while they were merry with the goose. And supposition at which the two young Cratchits became livid. All sorts of horrors were supposed. Hello, a great deal of steam. The pudding was out of the copper. A smell like washing day, that was the cloth. A smell like an eating house and a pastry cook's next door to each other, with the laundresses next door to that. That was the pudding. In half a minute, Mrs. Cratchit entered, flushed by smiling proudly, with the pudding, like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing with half a quartern of ignited brandy, and bedight with Christmas holly stuck into the top.
Season Tonight, the wind gnaws with teeth of glass. The jackdaw shivers in caged branches of iron. The stars have talons. There is hunger in the mouth of vole and badger, silver agonies of breath in the nostril of the fox, ice on the rabbit's paw. Tonight has no moon, no food for the pilgrim. The fruit tree is bare, the rose bush a thorn, and the ground bitter with stones. But the mole sleeps, and the hedgehog lies curled in a womb of leaves. The bean and the wheat seed hug their germs in the earth, and the stream moves under the ice. Tonight, there is no moon, but a new star opens like a silver trumpet over the dead. Tonight, in a nest of ruins, the blessed babe is laid. And the fir tree warms to a bloom of candles. The child lights his lantern, stares at his tinselled toy. Our hearts and hearths smoulder with live ashes. In the blood of our grief, the cold earth is suckled. In our agony, the womb convulses its seed. In the last cry of anguish, the child's first breath is born.
I apologise, but it's that awful time in the concert where the choir master turns around and says, I'd like to say a few words. The first words I'd like to say are thank you for all of you that are out there, or any of you that are out there watching us tonight. We would have loved you to have been here with us. Obviously, the situation is such that you couldn't be, but we hope you've enjoyed the concert so far. The concert this evening was going to be doubly special for us. In the first instance, it's been 2 years since we last sang together in public. 2 years ago, almost exactly, in this very church, singing to a rather fuller church on that occasion. In that time, we've been silent for the last 2 years, and that's actually really difficult for any choir or any music group. And many music groups have fallen silent in the last 2 years and actually not made a noise again. So to be here tonight singing together, to all of you out there, is special for us, and as I say, I hope you've enjoyed it. It's, doubly special because in summer of 2020, the choir reached its 50th anniversary. The plan was big concert around about June or July of 2020. Hopefully everybody come and see us, and for us to have a great time celebrating all the achievements of the choir over 50 years. Unfortunately, that didn't happen either. And we had hoped that this evening would be our chance to celebrate again with all of you and sort of just knock on our 50th anniversary. But unfortunately, that's not happened. But we're really grateful to the church for allowing us to sing and to broadcast to you. And we hope that you've felt a part of the concert with us, even though you're not here with us. The 50th anniversary also coincided with another special anniversary, which was 40 years of musical direction by Bruce Randall. And Bruce's plan, as I said, was to have a big concert, and then at the end of that concert, to step down, hand over the reins, and take it easy for a while. Most of what people see of choir masters is that we stand at the front and we wave our hands around in concerts, and it all looks very, very straightforward. It's actually much more boring than that, I'm afraid. Sometime before the concert starts, the choir master has a germ of an idea or a theme for a concert and starts scouring through music box and listening to CDs and coming up with the right sort of music to include in that program. And then they shuffle it around and they put it in the right order, and then they source all the copy and they buy scores and they arrange things and they put it into a book or into a folder, and then they plan their rehearsals. And then when the time comes, they start the rehearsals, trying to make sure that people don't get fed up with what they're doing, but still are prepared in time for the concert. Then the concert arrives and you get everybody prepared and make sure they know how to walk in a straight line and when to stand up and when to sit down. And you set your music stand up and you set the piano up. Then you wave your hands and people think, gosh, aren't they clever? And then everybody goes home and you put all the chairs away and you pack away your music stand and you pack away the piano and you go home and have some fish and chips if you're lucky. Meanwhile, 2 months before that concert starts, the whole thing starts again, and you start thinking about the following concert and your germ of an idea, and so on and so on and so on. Bruce has been doing this for 40 years. Just to put things in context, the longest serving choir master of King's College, Cambridge, is the great Stephen Cleobury. He only managed 37 years. So Bruce has got him beaten easily. Bruce thought he could retire quietly to the back and to sing bass and sometimes play the organ for us, and that we wouldn't notice that he'd gone. And actually, it's unacceptable. We cannot let him do that without acknowledging his contribution. So I'm going to ask Bruce to come to the front, and I'm also going to ask Tim to come to the front. Tim has been with the choir rather longer than I have, and so I've asked Tim if he wouldn't mind saying a few words about Bruce. Hopefully nice ones.
You know you've been around for a long while when somebody asks you to reflect on the past history of a choir. If you had a program, you would see that this choir began as a group wanting to sing carols. And when they sang carols, they went around the streets with a harmonium, a portable harmonium. That's where the name comes from. That group very soon was added to, and then Bruce came along. When carol singing food was always a part of the agenda. We always ended up at somebody's having mulled wine, mince pies, and anything else that was going. So very quickly, this became a family, and Bruce was part of that family. And Penny, of course, too. Now, in a family, everybody puts in their pennyworth, don't they? And boy, we were no different. But Bruce stuck with us, heard what was said, built in the experience of those people who came and joined the group. And so, what began as a carol singing group broadened rapidly into a group that had a wide range of sacred music. Then, in addition, some people wanted to sing madrigals, so we included madrigals. Then they wanted to sing folk song arrangements, so we included folk song arrangements. And then they wanted to sing spirituals. And so you can see over the years how he was patient with us, listened to us, and guided us to be what we are today. Now, during that time, we've worked with other choirs. We've worked with notable personalities, and too many to listen to. And at this point, I've got to give credit to Nikki, who has put an archive together of what we've done over the years that is truly impressive. Impressive not only for us, having done that, but impressive as a piece of work and conscientious collection over the years of all the programs and all the data that went into it. Now, if you had a program, you'd see that we've dedicated this conference, this concert, to Penny Wood and Jerry McCalder. And in the not too distant past, Hilary Oram, Rosie Davis have all passed on. Now, through the whole of that time, we as a family have responded to those people, those situations, in those difficulties. And at the center of that has been Penny, who is known when people have been in trouble, and she's responded and supported them and let us all know when we needed to know that things were afoot that were difficult. She's done it quietly. We've heard Penny a lot because she's always looked after our money. And we've all had plenty to say about that from time to time, and so has Penny. But essentially, Penny was at the core of the family that this choir is. So, Team Randall, we thank you both from the bottom of our hearts for the time you've given us.
Don't go yet. I've not been with the choir anywhere as long as Tim, but I've been with the choir for the last 3 or 4 years and worked quite closely with Bruce, particularly over the last 2 years. Tim's talked about Bruce's legacy, but there's another legacy which won't ever be matched and certainly not surpassed, which is what Bruce has done in the last 2 years, because when the pandemic hit, Bruce could see that there was a chance that the choir would disappear, and he was determined this would not happen. So he quickly became an expert in Zoom recording and said, we're going to have online rehearsals every 2 weeks. And we hated it, and so did he. So not to be denied, he said, that's fine, we'll do something else. And so every 2 weeks he would get us together, and we would listen to old recordings and sing along with them. We would have theory lessons, musical history lessons, quizzes, and sometimes a good chat. And through it all, Bruce made sure that in our darkest time, the light stayed on. And I'm in absolutely no doubt at all that without his determination and his hard work, this choir would not be here tonight. And that is a legacy that nobody can possibly match. At this point, we should, Bruce, be making you a presentation. As luck would have it, the person who's got the present has come down with COVID and isn't here. Isn't it just typical? Anyway, what should be presented to Bruce now is a card with an envelope inside to use as you please, and a box. In the box are 2 wine glasses engraved with the logo Harmonium Singers. Once only edition. We will give them to you at some point. If you can imagine, we give them to you now. And on behalf of all of the choir, past and present, all the audiences that you've pleased over the years, I would just like to say thank you.
If I'd been planning this part of the concert, I'd have cut that down to about a minute. But I'm I had no idea this was going to happen. Thank you so much, everybody. And I would just like to say what an absolute joy it's been over the years, and a privilege to work with these people and many others. There's been about 50 other people who've come and gone over the years, moved away, sadly died. This is the current generation, and it just moves on and lives, and it's going to start and live another life with you, Andrew. So I hope to be part of that and enjoy it. And thank you all so much. I'm quite choked, but we've got to finish the concert.
Thank you very much for watching.
Oh your Christmas keep? Feasting, fasting, or asleep? Will you laugh or will you pray? Will you forget the day? Be it kept with joy or prayer, keep of either, some to spare. Whatsoever brings the day, do not keep, but give away. From us to you, a happy, healthy Christmas.